inequalities. So please be sure to put your name on this. This will be our new notes packet for the whole unit. Today we're going to jump in with this first notes page all on inequality, just like basics, and then we'll jump into one step. So an inequality is a mathematical sentence that contains an inequality symbol, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and it compares two quantities. So here are our symbols. If we look here, we have this, which is the more than or the greater than, and we have this, which is the less than or the fewer than. And then we have at least, minimum, greater than or equal to, at most, maximum, less than or equal to. So you can always refer back to your notes if you forget what they mean, but those are important for today's lesson. Also, friendly reminder, when we are graphing inequalities, you need to place a circle on the number to which you are comparing the variable. So for example, in this first one, it says x is greater than 3, so there is a circle on 3. Now, we have to remember, closed circles versus open circles. So a closed circle is if the number has the line, the equal to line, meaning like we fill it in. We close the circle, we circle the whole thing in because it includes that number. It could be 3 or more, or it could be 3 or less. Similarly, it's an open circle if it is not a solution. So if it's just greater than or less than, it doesn't actually include that number, it's an open circle. And then the last little piece we have here is we shade the number line in the direction of which our solutions are. So if x is greater than 3, it would be an open circle at 3, and I'm putting my arrow towards the numbers that are bigger than 3. Or if it's x is less than 3, an open circle at 3, with the arrow going towards numbers that are less than 3. Same thing is true for these two, but they both have that equals to line, so that's why they both have those closed circles. So just keep all of that in mind. So we have our first practice right here. I'm going to do one or two of them, and the rest you will do when you get to practice time. So let's look at a few of them. Graph each inequality on the number line. X is greater than 5. So I know I need an open circle at 5. Oops, let me go back to my pen. I need an open circle at 5. And if that's saying x is greater than 5, I want to put my arrow towards the numbers that are greater than 5, and I need to make sure I put my arrowhead on the end. Okay, let's do one more together. X is greater than or equal to 14. Because it has that equal to sign, I fill my circle in because it includes 14, and I shade everything that is greater. There's more that you're going to practice. We can do the inverse of that, where they give us a graph, and then it's our turn to write it. So I always start with my variable x. I can see that it's a closed circle at 8, so I know my number is going to be 8, and it's shading towards numbers that are bigger. So x is going to be greater than or equal to 8. Okay, and then these last two I will leave for you to practice. Okay, so this is just some graphing practice with inequalities. Okay, the bulk of our lesson today is about one-step inequalities and solving one-step inequalities. So recently we solved one-step, two-step, and multi-step equations. It's very similar with inequalities. There's just a few things we need to keep in mind. So I have an addition. I have -6 plus x. If I want to rewrite that, I could rewrite that as x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 24. Either way works. If I solve the original, I see that this is a -6, so I need to add 6. Now, usually the equal sign is what split our equation into 2. For inequalities, the inequality symbol splits it into 2. So I do that on this side. This cancels, and I'm left with x is greater than or equal to 30. Once I have my inequality, this is my answer right here, I need to graph it. So I'm going to write some numbers. How you do this is up to you. I'm going to go by 5s. and x is greater than or equal to 30, so I'm going to put a closed circle on 30, and I'm going to shade in the direction of things that are greater or bigger than 30. And that would be my graph. So that was addition. Now subtraction is similar. To solve the subtraction inequality, I need to do the inverse of subtraction, which is addition. And I'm going to add 5 to both sides. This cancels, and I'm left with x is less than or equal to 26. And I'm going to put some on here, so 22. And x is less than or equal to 26, so close circle at 26, going towards my values that are less than that number. All right, multiplication. So I have x divided by 3 is greater than -5. So if I have division, the inverse of division is multiplication. So I solve this by multiplying both sides by 3. This cancels. I'm left with x is greater than -15. Okay, I have my number line, and then it's x is greater than -15, so an open circle on 15, -15, and I'm going towards the numbers that are greater. Remember, when I'm in the negatives, numbers that are bigger go towards 0, so I'm shading in that direction. All right, and last but not least, I have division. So I need to, well, it's a multiplication inequality, but I need to solve it by dividing both sides by -7. Now, this is where the things are new for inequalities. If at any point I'm multiplying or dividing both sides of my inequality by a negative value, I have to flip the inequality. So, because I'm dividing by a -7, my C stays the same. 28 divided by -7 would be -4. And like I said, I need to flip the sign. So this sign is going to get flipped around, and instead of being less than or equal to, it now becomes greater than or equal to. And that is my equation. So again, anytime I'm multiplying or dividing by a negative, you flip the sign. Only by a negative. I'm going to write it here, jot this down in your notes. Okay. Write that down. And now last but not least, we need to graph this. So -5. It's going to be a closed circle on -4, and I'm going towards everything that's greater than or equal to -4. Okay, so to recap, we learned about the basics of inequalities. That was just a refresher. I want you to finish this graphing inequalities worksheet, and then I also want you to complete this solving one-step inequalities problems. There's 6 questions on that. So I want you to complete those 2 things and then continue on to the next assignment, which is an iExcel assignment that you will finish for homework. If you want to highlight on this worksheet, it also has that reminder about flipping the sign, so that helps you. All right, good luck.